Hello, MotoAmerica fans. Welcome to this latest edition of Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. I am Bice, and I have communications manager for MotoAmerica, Paul Carruthers, with us. And Paul, this is episode 251. We didn't celebrate 250, so we did. 251's pretty damn good.
251 weeks.
Absolutely, that's a long damn time. We've both gotten older.
Yeah. Fortunately, more handsome, but older.
Well, you have.
Oh, yeah.
Not me. It's only one-sided. Hey, so we're here at New Jersey Motorsports Park, and it's the final round of our season, and there's a lot of cool stuff happening. We've obviously got a big decision to be made with the championship in Mission King of the Baggers Championship. Twins Cup, REV'IT Twins Cup is going to be decided. And speaking of REV'IT Twins Cup, is there another one I need to mention?
No, you're good.
Okay. Speaking of REV'IT Twins Cup, we have a Twins rider who is a legend in my mind and everybody else's mind.
He's a real Twins rider.
Yes, he is. And, you know, I know he was on our podcast at one time, but we've never done a video version of it. And it's Dallas Daniels, of course. Welcome in. American Flat Track Super Twins runner-up. Or how do they put that?
Yeah, runner-up.
Vice champion, I guess, or whatever they say.
Don't put champion in the name if it's second. I just was runner-up.
Okay, but man, it was a hell of a season for you.
No, it was really good. It was my second full year in Super Twins. The team I'm on, I've been with them every year since I've been a pro, and it was just a great year. We came out firing at Daytona, won both rounds there. I had like 13 consecutive podiums or something, and led the points for the majority of the season, and it had a few mishaps there towards the end, and it obviously didn't end how we wanted. But when you look back on it, it was a great year. You know, I'm battling the guy that just tied the greatest of all time for 9 championships, Mees, and you know, we were just I really didn't struggle much all year. And we went to Springfield, and it was like hit me like a bag of rocks. I struggled bad there for whatever reason, and it was a bummer. But you know, it's cool. The season ended early, so I come hang out with you guys again.
And then you struggled at like the place that he's the best at too. So that
exactly, I struggle, and he goes he wins, and then gets second. So it was just
right.
You know what? The way I looked at it is the first round I won both, and he got 2 fourths and struggled, and then the last round I struggled. I just struggled when it counted the most. You know.
Right.
So.
When that struggling happens, I mean, I don't really understand it. Is it the dirt? Is it, what is it? What happens when that goes on? It feels like a karma thing. It's so strange.
No, it is too, especially like when you kind of look at the year we've had. Like I'm in the fight for the podium at every race, even like Peoria I crashed. But other than that, I was on the podium every one besides Springfield. And it's just a combination, you know, like the difference between road racing and flat track is like, our track changes all the time. Like you could go out one time and it's, you know, great traction, and the next time it's just super slippery. And that was kind of what hit us at Springfield. Like for practice, we had a bunch of grip and we were kind of running up high. And then in the heat races, it was just like, bam, right down by the guardrail, kind of a patchy groove with holes in it. And so it was just, you know, and some of it has to do with our motorcycle. Our, you know, the Yamaha struggles a little bit on those big, like, rounder corners like that Springfield has, and a lot of the tracks earlier in the year it wasn't really like that. So, and it you know, and then obviously some with me, a lot of people were like, did the pressure get to you? And I'm like, well, obviously there's pressure, but yeah, it was a bummer. Like we made headway from the first day to the second day, and it's like you can't really pinpoint one thing. Like, you know, sometimes you just have a bad day, and unfortunately it's not when I needed to have one.
Yeah. So we've heard a lot about the bike, and it doesn't lack for power. It's trying to get that bike to the ground, and you guys have come a long ways with that versus the way it was early on. They struggled quite a bit and kept after it, and this year was pretty incredible for that bike. Did it feel like a totally different bike this year or last year? I mean, when did the transition change?
The transition really started winter testing this year. The team has a slew of engineers and people that are working on the bike. And obviously from years past, power has not been a disadvantage. If anything, it's been a big advantage. Those things have great power, but we were more worried about getting the power to the ground. And obviously in my short time, there was a couple things I found, and you know, it's just like paying your dues. Like you can't develop a motorcycle in 1 year. Like this is 5 years they're going on developing this thing.
Yeah.
And last year we made headway, but we weren't quite in it enough to be championship material. And so this year we found some new things with components and chassis and engine combinations and, you know, all this stuff. And I think in the process of that, we made huge headway. You know, like we won half miles and short tracks, and obviously JD kills it on the TTs like always. in that span, we lost power actually because we like were looking to check this other box, and we did. And then we had to like kind of go back and be like, okay, how do we get this power back for some of the miles? Because, you know, Jared, he went back to the workshop and found essentially all of it back. So it was like kind of a good and bad thing that we like fixed some areas, but then it's like you fix some, it hurts some other ones. So it's just part of it, I guess.
Okay, let's talk about road racing.
Yeah, absolutely.
This weekend he gets to stay clean.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so
That's
pumped.
Well-
JD always tells us, he's like, it's so nice to not have to spend an hour
Yeah,
cleaning
he
my
says
stuff.
that.
And
Yeah.
Our truck driver Joey's like in heaven just because you roll in, it's like pavement everywhere, and
roll them back in.
yeah,
the
like
same as
I
your
get to
bolt.
go home and just take the boots out of my bag and put them in the locker. I don't even have to clean them. Yeah,
Yeah. No, you mean Joey Lombardo, right?
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
Joey Lombardo, who a lot of people probably know was the crew chief of Tommy Hayden, who runs our team when they won 2 SuperSport 600 championships, and that's my crew chief for the weekend.
That's awesome.
And he's our truck driver for dirt track. That's pretty much his only title. But yeah, he's the crew chief this weekend.
That's
Was
cool.
the decision made to come here late, or did you guys plan on it if it was going to work out? I mean, earlier in the year?
Well, so I would say around the beginning of August, I mentioned something to my team owner, Tim Estenson, and was like, hey, you know, this looks like it could be a possibility. Because obviously I couldn't do COTA, right, if I wanted to ride a twins bike. And he was like, oh, well, if it's after the season, I don't have a problem with it. And it kind of got mentioned to Yamaha, and Yamaha's like, yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Like maybe a cool story. Me and JD both go into pavement, and, you know, obviously we're road racers in the past, or JD was. I did a little bit of it, but it was like, yeah, we could talk about it. And it kind of like went away because I was like in a battle for a championship. So I just wanted to focus on that. And then after the year was over, I called Tommy and I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? Like, could this be possible? And he's like, let me make some phone calls. And Yamaha was like, well, if you're going to do it, we want you to ride this motorcycle, which was the Chuck Giacchetto Team ESO is the team.
Right.
Dominic Doyle rides for him. They had an extra bike. He's like, we'd like you to ride that one. So it was kind of planned that I was just going to come in and ride for this team and whatever. And then they're kind of like, hey, we're busy. We don't really have time to get this bike ready. Do you want to come get it? And my dad was like, hey, this is a win-win. Then we could ride it, you know? So I was like, because I was just going to do a track day on this R6 that I have. And so then it was kind of like, hey, you need to bring a crew. And, you know, we don't quite have enough people. And then somewhere along the line, you know, because like I'm making phone calls and I'm trying to be like, hey, can you come? And this person come, but like, I can't pay you and this and that. And like our team was like, well, I could go, but I need my travel covered. And Tommy's like, hey, forget about it. I'll take care of it. And I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, we're going to take the semi. Joey's
so
going
cool.
to crew chief. The bike's painted in the bodywork, and it's like, it looks like one of our dirt track bikes. So it's like along the way, I think they just thought that if, you know, our team's like, if we're going to do something, let's do it right. So obviously without them, it wouldn't have been possible.
Now, it's kind of weird because based on your road racing experience, there shouldn't really be any pressure when you come in here. But when you come in here after the year you had dirt tracking, and I think there's probably a lot of expectation on you that not necessarily it's earned, but you shouldn't feel pressure because of it, right?
Yeah.
But how do you feel coming into this? Because it is kind of an unknown. I know you rode the bike last week or this week, and you've road raced before, but it's been a long time. But you come in as now this guy.
Yeah, so it's definitely weird because I think of the last time I was here, like I was a championship contender, and I know it's Junior Cup, but like I was going pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like I kind of just like put up the suit, and I didn't ride for a long time. I actually about 2 years, and getting on the bike, it was like definitely different. It took me a while, but like once I kind of got going, it was like, okay, here it is. Like I'm coming back, and it just takes a while to like get back in that groove. And obviously, like as a racer, you're always like, oh, we're just going to have fun. It's going to be a good time. And then it's like, you know, I show up and they're like, man, you brought the semi. You got a whole crew. That's a lot of pressure. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's pressure, but it's, you know, it's just as good as it is for me. It's good for the team, right? Come see how this series works. I mean, this series is so awesome, and to feel welcomed like we have. And obviously, yes, there's pressure. Like as a racer, I want to do well, but I know that these guys have been racing all year and they're no joke. So just see where we stack up and just have fun.
Dallas, I think you sold yourself a little short there, because you mentioned about JD road racing, which we know about his prowess in that. And you said something about, I did a little bit of road racing. Come on. I mean, let's face it. You did quite a bit. In fact, you raced over in Europe that one year, right? At the end of the season.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I was able to go over and do a World Supersport 300 round at Qatar. I got my butt kicked, but it was fun.
It's fun though. Yeah.
It was a big eye opener, going over there. Like, those guys are no joke. Yeah.
But I mean, it's what you did in Junior Cup. It's cool that you're back. And I love this, the fact that you've been racing this bike, an FC07, MT07, and this R7 is derived from that as well. Essentially the same engine, and the engine characteristics. We talked about this a little bit before the podcast, but tell us about, there's some things that maybe that bike does a little bit better in road racing than it might in flat track. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that was kind of the motive to run Twins Cup, is like, hey, if we want to give ourselves a chance to do, decent or run okay, like what would give us the best chance to do well, or the best we can. And that was like, well, let's ride a Twins bike. If I ride a Yamaha, it's essentially the same engine I've been racing. Because sometimes if I were to go to Supersport, it would take me a little bit to get used to the power, even though like it's not a big power difference. It's like, it's enough, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I was telling you about that at the beginning, is a lot of the stuff we complain about the Yamahas on dirt track, like the power coming on super quickly and the engine characteristics and the firing order. What's a disadvantage on dirt track is a huge advantage on road racing. Like, that thing picks up and comes out of the corner like great. And it was funny because I was talking to my dad about it last weekend. He's like, how's the bike? Does it power feel good? I'm like, man, this thing picks up and goes. And he's like, oh, great. And I'm like, this would suck over there. Not suck, but it would just, we'd have to make a lot, that's where we've been making a lot of changes on our dirt track bike. So it's just funny to like, a lot of the stuff you complain about or not complain about, but want to change is an advantage.
Right.
And obviously they make that motor for the street. So that's how I'd make it too. It's just flat track's just so different,
I remember when you were here, obviously we spent some time together and you'd be in the press conferences and all that stuff. And I remember, it was a pretty difficult season because you kept getting beat by the same guy. And I always saw it in your face. And I always, I don't want to say poor losers, but I like to see a guy that's not real happy when he loses, because, there's a saying goes, if you're happy when you lose, if you show me a good loser, I'll show you a guy that loses a lot. But
yeah, exactly, yeah.
So you did lose a lot, but you lost. It was barely. And it was always Rocco Landers. And we've talked about it before. And obviously he's turned out to be a pretty damn good road racer. So it's not like you're beaten by some kid off the street. And then you get to race with him again this weekend.
Yeah, it was funny. My buddy Maxwell, who races flat track, we're pretty good mates, and he's like, so is the rivalry going to restart? And I'm like, dude, I'll be lucky to be in the same sector as that guy. Like, Rocco is, obviously there was a period of time I didn't really like him too much just because he was kicking my butt. But the thing about Rocco is he's a good rider, but he knows how to race. And a lot of people don't know that difference. Like, for example, Jared Mees, I might be a better rider than him, but that dude can race. And like that difference is like he just knows where to put himself. And that's why he beat me so much, because I didn't really know. Now maybe if I get in that situation this weekend, I might know a little bit more than I did back then. But no, it's definitely cool. Like that rivalry, I guess, in the lower category, just racing with him again. It's definitely cool. He's a cool competitor for sure.
And racecraft is racecraft, right? You have to have a lot of racecraft to do what you do on the dirt tracks. That's got to carry over. It's not like...
No, it doesn't matter if it's road, dirt, and a car, anything. Like the racecraft is racecraft. And if you take a guy that can race and take him anywhere, whether it's motocross, dirt track, road racing, whatever, that applies. It's all the same. Whatever your strategy is or knowing how to race, it's just a skill that takes a long time to learn. And like, I haven't mastered it by no means, but it just takes experience. And I'm not quite sure how he got it so good as a young kid. It's kind of what pisses me off sometimes. But no, and even from him, like I learned so much from him that I took dirt track and like racing with him. So
wow. Did you learn it from him by observing? Because sometimes, I'm not trying to sell Rocco short, but sometimes he does. I don't know if he actually knows what he's doing. I don't mean it that way, but it's like a natural for him.
Well, not a lot of good racers are like that.
Yeah,
they
even
can do it,
Wayne
but they
was.
can't tell you how to do it.
Do it, but they're not quite sure how they accomplish it.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm like, for me, I'm like a student of the sport. Like I'm a fan of the sport, even though I race it, but I just enjoy watching racing.
You watch everything, right?
Oh, dude,
he watches every kind of motorcycle racing.
Yeah, motocross, dirt track. Like I wake up in the morning and turn on like motocross and watch stuff. And I just like, I I study it. Like I remember listening to something a while back at James Stewart. He's like, I'm truly a student of the sport, and like that's what it takes. And you got to be able to study your craft. And so I study other guys' craft too, and that's kind of how you learn how to beat them. Like I've learned if you want to be successful, it's got to kind of consume your life. And that's kind of what my dad taught me. And so for that reason, it helps me out a lot because, you know, I'm able to study other guys or, you know, whatever.
Yeah. So when you talk about like strategy or racecraft, comparing a flat track to us, in road racing, if you're going to make a pass on somebody, sometimes you have to kind of set it up a turn or a few turns in advance. So tell me about in flat track, are you doing the same thing if you're going to make a pass? There are fewer turns, obviously, but are you setting it up beforehand?
So I think the biggest difference is road racing, you just get a little more time to plan, right? Like you can sit on a guy for a whole lap and have, that's like 4 laps in our world, you know what I mean? A lap, like I'm just saying that you get a little bit more time. So it all applies. Like I might set up a pass in turn 1 at Springfield Mile to pass the guy in turn 3, where might be the same out here, just finding your strengths and weaknesses. And obviously, like I said, the biggest thing with road racing is you just get so much more time to plan. And like, there's a lot more places to struggle or be better than somebody, where dirt track, it's like, oh, I'm not great in 1 and 2, but man, I'm good in 3 and 4. But it's like, it's kind of like this, you know what I mean? Where in road racing, I could be like really good in sector 1, but another guy be good in sector 2. And it's just a different type of planning, but it's sort of the same, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. And even along that line too, it's interesting that in road racing, we've heard this in press conferences, guys that'll be on the podium and maybe didn't win. They'll say, you know, the next day they'll win the race and they'll say, you know, I had overnight to kind of think about it a little bit more. And I don't know really what they're thinking about, except that with our series and how we're like 3 days, there is some advantage to having some time to work on setup and actually figure out what we're going to do, right? Or what you're going to do strategy wise.
No, yeah, 100%. That's kind of one of the things I enjoy about road racing more is you get so much more track time.
Yeah.
And that's like flat track, to put it in perspective for you, they take the whole semi, the whole deal, all of our guys, and we are on track 20 minutes.
That's what JD told me at the last race.
And I mean, like when it, like our JD's crew chief, Dustin, his name's Dustin, when he boiled it down like that, I was like,
it's ridiculous.
Oh my gosh. Like my first session tomorrow is 25 minutes. I'll already ride more in my first free practice than I will the whole time. And so that's one of the things too for me. Like when I went and tested last weekend on this bike, like the first day I was like kind of struggling. I just like had that night's sleep to think about it. And the next day was like immediately faster.
Yeah.
And then just faster.
We just pick up where you left off.
Exactly. And so then I can have like, yes, it's only 2 sessions tomorrow I'm going to get, but it's just like having those extra sessions to be able, especially for a guy like me who's coming in cold turkey kind of, it's just, you get, not only do you get more time to set up your bike, you get more time to set up your mind. And the thing I like too is like I can be out in practice and like I want to come in, make a change, or I just want to come in, just take a second, think about things. In dirt track, we get 4 laps of practice.
Yeah, you're not coming in.
No, you're sprinting and you need every lap. So it's like, that's one thing I like about road racing. Even if I'll come in and just ride down pit road, like just take that minute to like decompress.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
you know.
So you talked about Rocco, but in Twins Cup, a lot of the riders that you raced against in Junior Cup are now in Twins Cup against you. I mean, Gus Rodeo, I think.
That was his first year, I think, when I raced Junior Cup. Yeah.
Obviously Dominic Doyle. Yeah. So it's interesting that all of you kind of are having you're having a reunion with some of the other racers that have been here. They've been racing on the road on road courses while you've been doing the dirt, but it's kind of cool that you've kind of gotten back together with everybody. Have you been around and talked to some of your former co-racers or competitors?
Yeah, a little bit, or just talk to people I haven't seen in a long time. It's just so good to see familiar faces, and a lot of my really good friends are in road racing, like Teague Hobbs, who races Supersport.
Teague, yes.
Yeah, me and him are like best friends.
That's
so
awesome.
It's cool to just come back and like, it's not like, oh, the dirt track kids here. It's like, oh, Dallas here. Hey, cool. What's up, man? And it's like, or you smell good if you talking to Sean.
I did notice he smells good.
But no. Yeah, it's definitely cool. And I think like, everybody knows I'm just coming in to like have fun. Like I'm not here to like, if I can get in the middle of the championship battle and like try to win, I'm for sure going to.
Yes.
But it's definitely cool. I haven't got the chance to talk to many people just because we've been busy this morning getting stuff settled, but I'll definitely be making my rounds today for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, it's only Thursday, just so the viewers and listeners know for sure. So, I mean, we got a lot of time. We'll not be on track until tomorrow. So I want to ask about you probably can't say anything, Dallas, but we got to ask you. I mean, we know how you feel about road racing. We know how JD feels about it. JD sort of didn't he didn't say anything, but he sort of intimated that there might have been something. And, I don't know if Paul knew ahead of time, but I mean, once I found out, I was pretty overjoyed about it. Anything about next year? I mean...
No, man, I wish I had something to tell you, or I wish I had something I knew that you didn't know.
Right.
There's my dirt track team. I am locked in for next year.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah, it's like, my contract does extend till next year if I choose it to, which obviously I don't want to leave.
Right. It's a great team.
But I really, depending on how this weekend goes, I want to come be able to do 1 or 2 races a year if our schedule allows it. Obviously, I don't want to come if I'm still racing, but if I can come do some of these, and like I just bought a track day bike, so I'm going to go do some stuff like in the wintertime and then throughout the year next year, because I think it's good to stay sharp in all categories. I ride a lot of motocross but I get that question so much, like, will you go road racing, or are you ever going to go road racing again? And it's kind of just like, if the opportunity arises and I think it's right, for sure I would come back. Like, I love road racing.
Yeah.
MotoAmerica has been great. They're great to me. I'm here for one weekend. Like, it's so good to see all you guys. But for me, as a kid, I've wanted to be Grand National champion. So like, now that I've got to that point, like I sniffed it this year and it's sucked, like, seeing that I didn't get it, I want to accomplish that goal, whether it's 1 or 3 or whatever. I want to try my hardest. I'm not going to give it 1 year and be like, okay, I'm going to go road racing. No, we got close.
Yeah.
I want to win that title.
Right.
I don't know. As I've gotten older, I actually had this conversation with JD not long ago. I've seen myself like wanting to do other things. Like when I was a kid, it was like, I wanted to be the greatest dirt tracker there ever was.
Really? Okay.
But now I'm kind of like, I'd like to win a couple of championships, but I kind of want to win a superbike race. Like I want to be one of the old school Grand Slam guys. Like I know that's like, when you say that, people are like, oh yeah, good luck. Like I know it'd be really, really tough.
Yeah, but it's possible.
Yeah, I would like to try. Like,
sure.
I want to race the Daytona 200. I'd like to do that at some point. I'm not saying this is going to happen within the next 3 or 5 years, but and then like Dale's like wants to get me in a car, and my team owner Tim like has a car. Like I'd like to drive a car like for fun, and so I don't know. It's kind of, as you get older, I think it'd be a little cooler to be like the general and like maybe try to make outdoor national or something. I don't know. I don't know. I guess my sights aren't just set on dirt track. Like I've kind of opened up my horizon to new things like that I'd like to do.
How long's Jared Mees going to do this? If we could get rid of that guy, it'd be easy.
That's what everybody says. I don't know. I hope he stays around until I can beat him.
Well,
if he retires and I start winning,
he's the guy you want to beat.
I hope when I do beat him, he just retires right there. But no. All jokes aside, I don't know. I think he wants to break the record. Obviously, he's going to go for 10 next year, and I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure it doesn't happen. But I don't know. We'll see. He keeps his cards close to his chest. I don't know what that guy's thinking.
No.
Now, in road racing, of course, we have different road courses and people have their favorites. And you guys have various venues, but you have different kinds of racing. You do TTs and half miles and short tracks and miles. What's your favorite form of flat track racing?
I'm pretty open about it. For me, it's TTs. I love TTs.
Yeah.
I think it has a lot to do. I grew up doing a lot of motocross and then like obviously doing some road racing. But even before I started road racing, I love TTs. Like I really, like I said, I kind of started in motocross. I did a lot of that, a lot of woods riding. And I think it just, I kind of like it because it comes more down to the rider. Like there's a reason JD's good on TTs because he's a great rider.
Yeah.
Obviously our bike is very good, but you could put JD on a beta scooter. I think he'd run top 3. I mean, the dude fell down and still got on the podium. So it's like, I don't know. I think it's my favorite just because and it's like, more, a right hander, a jump, like a lot more skills come into it. And obviously a lot of the guys nowadays are riding motocross and road racing. And so it's a little tougher to do well, but yeah, definitely TTs.
At Peoria, did you hit like a dirt clod?
Dude, I hit like a cement block. I have this, my dad took it home and cleaned it off and it's in like my mom's rock garden outside. I mean, this thing is like, it's almost big as your head.
Was it hidden? I mean, why didn't anyone see it?
I don't know. It was a very, very odd situation. It was like this thing was in turns 3 and 4, and about halfway through the main event, I started seeing it, and it was kind of in the shadow, and where the trees are, it kind of shadows down out there. And I just, every lap, I'm like seeing it. I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I'm not going to find out. That's what I thought. And then, the right hander that day just had a little bit of bumps on the entrance. And I was like, I had Briar right on my right on my butt, and I'm like, I go through the right hander, and the front end just kind of shook a little bit, and it put me offline like
That
maybe
much.
a foot, and it was like, oh, there's a what.
But I mean, that was
dude,
a front end push for a long time.
Before I knew it, the front was gone, and I don't know what I was gonna do, but I tried to bring her back, and it was terrible. It sucks.
Well, we're getting ready to wrap up here, but I do want to ask you one thing. One thing I've noticed with you, Dallas, and I've kept in touch with you, but I haven't seen you face to face too much in the past couple of years.
Or smelled you.
Or smelled you until today, which was
yeah.
quite lovely, I will say.
Yeah, he's just gonna be behind me like.
I am. I'm just to waft your scent is like good for me. Yeah. So, but really, Dallas, you're different now. You're more expressive than you were. You know how people used to say you never smiled?
Oh yeah.
No, but think back at that. Were you shyer, or you have filled out as a personality now?
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I was just a kid, and like, I was like, so just like racing, and like, I am like racing now, and like, I didn't really know like anybody here. So I'd like, I don't know. I kind of like have this like hard shell that once you break through, like I'm like a nice caramel middle or whatever.
You are.
But,
you're tasty at the middle.
Like when I was a kid, it was like, hey man, like, are you even having fun? I'm like, yeah, I love being here. It's great.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I just like got to wait to get comfortable around people. And,
yeah.
You know, but I'm comfortable around you guys.
Yeah, it's cool. I see him like randomly at a dirt
Yeah.
track, and I always get a hug and everything.
Yeah, it's
kinda
cool.
nice.
Yeah, well, and I like you guys. You know, if I didn't like you, I probably wouldn't be like.
He wouldn't let you smell him.
Yeah, I would not let you smell me.
Well, so Dallas is going to be racing on an Estenson Racing Yamaha YZF-R7 in REV'IT Twins Cup this weekend. 2 races. We'll see how he does. He's familiar with that engine. It's back to road racing. He's going to get his knee down instead of sticking his steel shoe out there. You're not going to put a steel shoe on, I'm sure.
I might put my foot out like first couple laps, but
Well, it's cool to do that now.
Seems like everybody does it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll even need knee sliders. I don't know if I'll drag my knee or not.
You will drag 'em.
God help those guys if it rains, though.
Oh, I know. Well, yeah, exactly. If it rains,
Shit's gonna hit the fan over
doubtful
there.
surfaces. He knows all about that. But anyway, thanks for being on with us, Dallas. It's great to catch up with you, and I wish you luck this weekend. We both hope to see you more in road racing, and obviously want to see you go at it next year in AFT as well. So.
No, thank you guys for having me. It's been awesome to be back, and I'm excited for the weekend.
Perfect. Thank you.